This is Chiming In with Elyse and David. So, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about the Waze app. Remember that conversation? And we discussed how I thought it was crazy that anybody would actually use the app to let anybody know what accidents are up ahead or
And I
whether
said
it's a
that's
police
ridiculous because that makes the whole app awesome.
Right, but I didn't know how to do it. Well, the other day I'm in the car using Waze, and I realized there's a little button in the corner that you can press that has a menu pop up that lets you tell other Wazers what is going on. And I have been obsessed now with documenting what is going on my journeys by pushing this button. Whenever I see police officer, I'm like, oh, there's a police officer, push down the button. Or if I see a lane, this is a big one, if there's a lane that's being worked on, I let everybody on Waze know that there's a lane being worked on.
So are you a professional Wazer now?
I'm so excited. I just wish I was getting paid for it.
You probably get like points or something. Oh, I bet you get points.
I'm going to get the high score.
You're the winner.
I love it. So last week we talked about labels, and we talked about identifying labels and othering people and that kind of thing. And I wanted to continue the conversation, but I wanted to start off by telling a little story. I work out at the gym a couple times a week, and at the same time I work out, there's usually a young man that also works out around me, and he is autistic, and he is obsessed with Deal or No Deal, the TV show. You know, the Deal or No Deal. That's the one we have to pick the suitcases, and there's always a TV screen in the gym that has this on, and he constantly watches the show while we're working out and letting everybody in the gym around him know what is going on, what's happening, what the chances are of the person who's going to win or try to win. And he's so excited about it, and it's really, really fun to watch how excited he is. But I can also see the discomfort that is going on sometimes with people around him who don't want to talk about Deal or No Deal. They just want to do their workout. And I can see that he is breaking a bit of a social norm by not recognizing this in people. And I decided I made it a point to kind of get past my own thoughts like this, because it is a lot when somebody keeps telling you something. And I found out that he loves music, and I love music. And I also found out that he has an encyclopedia mind when it comes to music. He can tell you the best hits from 1987, like the top 10. He just is like a computer. And knows all these songs that I love and these musicians, and I'm actually teaching him some people he's never heard of. It was really eye-opening for me to embrace.
Continue the conversation, and you were able to get to something else.
Exactly.
Common ground.
Exactly. And obviously with our conversation that we had last week, it made me think about the fact that when you open yourself up to someone, even when they might be breaking social norms or doing things that are so-called not normal behavior, or behavior that might be uncomfortable for some people, you can really learn a lot about yourself as well.
Absolutely. We had a request that for a topic that we discussed the subject, normal does not exist. That was a request early on, actually, when we were first doing this, and we've been holding off a little so that we can all get to know each other a little better. And I always laugh when I hear the word normal, because do you remember back in the day when people really liked bumper stickers when we were growing up?
Yes.
And so I had the
Baby
sticker
on board.
that I don't know if that's the sticker, but yeah. I had I didn't put it on my car, or maybe I did, I don't know. But it said, "Why be normal?" Do you remember that one? It's pretty common. And I have, now that I'm a grown up, I have a tea towel that says, "This normal you speak of doesn't sound fun at all."
That's good.
And I love that because I don't know what normal is. I think it's fake news, I think there's a lot more question marks on what normal is. And maybe what we used to call normal, I guess, is my point about the old way of thinking about it, is that whole thing is shattered, right? Yeah, there's no one way.
I think that it's what we've been talking about, along with having rules that we follow in society. And when someone breaks the rules, then they are considered not normal, right?
Well, okay, but in the example you just had, I wasn't there to see this, but what sounds like to me is that your friend doesn't necessarily have the instinct or honed the skill of reading the room or feeling other people's reactions to him.
Right.
He sounds like he just really doesn't care. He just wants to share, and he's going to share. And if you don't like it, you have to make a decision whether to leave or participate.
I see some people just ignoring him, like they're talking to someone else and he's talking to them, and they're all just not even listening to him.
Sure.
Which is a little heartbreaking.
Well, I mean, yes, and also, autistic is an individual. Auto is individual. The processing is kind of an internal thing. So there's the ability to. It sounds like his ability to understand that other person may or may not be interested. His need to share that information overrides.
Yes.
Right? The social parameters. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that the more we can discuss what all of that means and what it looks like, because there is such a spectrum, I think that the more we're educated on these topics will allow what we were saying the other day, that the labels will just kind of dissolve or be used when needed and when they're helpful. So, yeah, I mean, in that case, who cares? Like, if someone keeps working out, they work out. If they put headphones on, but I know, I mean, we've all been in that situation before where you're in the middle of doing something, you think you're kind of doing it in your own way, in your own time, and someone comes over and interrupts that, right? And I can tell you right now, I'm around a lot of people who do that all the time, who are not on the spectrum. They could not be considered more, neurotypical, we'll say. Okay. So that happened the other day. We were in a big group event, and a gentleman came over to us and just started talking and reminiscing about, I could not wait to get out of there. I kept walking a little further, so read the room, but not everybody either can, or in this case, maybe cared. And same with the guy at the gym, So, but we've all been in that situation where there's somebody's coming and you're like, oh God, here they come.
Right.
And so you just have to make a decision, I think, in your case in the gym, if you're going to kind of open the door, right?
Right.
And how far you're going to open it. And also know you get to close it. It's okay. And that doesn't have to be heartbreaking. You just have to, because he's not going to.
Right.
And so you don't have to do it rudely. You just do it, and it's okay.
I hear myself talking, and I don't want to come across as othering the people that we're talking about, because, in a lot of ways, I am those people as well. I have my own challenges.
I'm definitely those people.
Right. When we are in conversations with people, I struggle with a lot of the things that I'm talking about. So I'm just talking in turn. It's just easier for me to talk about this when I talk about outside my body.
No, I appreciate that. And I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Like if you ever sound like you're not being inclusive in your wording. You don't mean to be.
No,
and
not
so
at all.
your disclaimer.
That's it.
No, I get it. It's,
I mean, I will tell you that I'll have conversations where after the evening, I think back and did I overshare? Did I talk about something that was interesting? Was that person actually with their eyes wandering, around the room to see if they could talk to someone else? Like I sometimes feel that way when I'm reworking in my mind what the conversations that I had through
do
the
you
evening
do that?
were.
Do you go back over the conversations?
I do sometimes.
You ruminate?
Yeah, I ruminate.
No, I'm serious. I've done a lot of work on myself. I think that's obvious when we talk about this stuff, but it was a very, very, that was a huge thing. I spent a lot of energy, a lot of brain work going back over things, ruminating on things my whole life.
I think it's helpful when you think about what you did. Well, because then you think for the next time when I have a conversation, I won't bring this up because I felt really funny about it after I did. So I won't. So I think it can be kind of like an assessment after a conversation.
Yeah, but so I guess the difference is, do you like replay it over and over and over in your
No,
head?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
No, I'm not obsessive about it.
I'm obsessed about it.
Well, I
Obsessed?
mean, over and over again
So I don't mean to. It's just on a rewind. So it's rewind, 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 replay, ruminating.
like music for you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of. I'm on the spectrum. So I am on the autistic spectrum. I have a level 1 diagnosis, late diagnosis a few years ago. So yes, I have all sorts of these characteristics that land me on that beautiful, colorful spectrum. And when that happened, when I started to tap into all those things, everything. I started making a very long list, and everything like this, wash, rinse, repeat, all the things that were going on in my mind. I realized that I had a lot of the symptoms or the characteristics that go along with being autistic. And I don't know if we meant to talk about this right now.
Well, we are. So, but let me ask you this. I mean, I think that when people think of autism, they might think of like Rain Man from Rain Man, the movie. Somebody who is unable to really communicate with other people, and they're going to look at that and look at you and say, "What are you talking about? You can't be. You're a beautiful speaker. You're a beautiful writer. You're obviously communicating beautifully. So what is it about you that is so now we're talking probably more of the internal, the unseen challenges that you have."
Well, right. So we were tapping into this a little bit in the past with visible disability and invisible disability, right? Or or interior processing, which is what I was starting to think about, how my brain works, or how I review, which I think has actually served me in my memory and my writing, probably,
Right.
and being able to recall a lot of nuance because I'm rewinding, like almost like a movie or an audio. I have a very big connection with audio. With
Right.
my, that's what you were joking about.
That's
that
why
I hear.
I can't play a song or else it gets stuck in your
I
head.
have to freak out. I'm like, please don't play that. It's going to be stuck in my head for 3 weeks.
We can't even talk about the song that makes you think of it.
Yeah, because as soon as we start, oh God, it's coming. As soon as I start thinking about the way the song melody goes, it could be again replaying for a long time.
What is that called when you have auditory?
I believe it's called like echolalia. If I'm
Echolalia.
saying it right.
So that must have helped you a lot when you were doing your performances with ballet because it's music.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah. So it really, now I only know this from hindsight. I mean, this is breaking headlines. This is pretty new thoughts, when I look back at my life in the past, I'm like, oh, but yes, for sure, because I was able to hear particularly that, beautiful classical music and the layering of all the different instruments very clearly. So I would say that musicality was definitely one of my strengths.
And then also
because of that.
assigning the steps to that music, right?
Oh,
Having
sure.
to memorize
Yes, but
thousands of
being
movements.
very particular about like the pause or the rhythm or like the, and one, and two, like however the nuance and the sound was very particular. So, if I have to follow someone in front of me and they're just a hair off, you can imagine that would drive me crazy.
So I can see why it would really bother you to hear people talk about normal and abnormal. How did you know growing up that what did you feel like you weren't normal growing up?
First of all, this again was just a, as they call it, late diagnosed. Okay. But again, I'm not wearing that label out loud all day long because I see what it means to me and how it's helped you and I move forward and grow. But I don't, it's just, all it did for me personally was explain, all it did was explain everything about my interior self.
Well, that's not much. Just everything.
So growing up, I have a really, truly long list of things that I struggled with. But the number one thing I could say, just as like bird's eye view, like bring it up high, is I never felt like I fit in anywhere. And I used to think that was because I was a dancer and everybody else played sports, or I was Jewish and everybody else was not, or whatever. Or I was, had blue eyes and everybody had brown, whatever. I just always felt different and couldn't put my finger on it. And it wasn't until literally a couple of years ago, and I said, I met a group of people in a room that I didn't know anyone except one person. And we had introduced ourselves. And the opening line that I said was, I've always felt different my entire life. And, I really like to understand why. And that was actually, it was a Reiki program, so it had nothing to do with, this, so to speak. And I didn't think that I meant anything by that. But by the end of the soul searching experience, basically this journey, I was never more grounded in my truth and my heart, and knowing that, love is all we need. Love is all there is. And
also you're not for everybody. And that you have a T-shirt that says,
"Oh yeah,
I'm not for everybody."
Yeah.
Well,
that explains everything. But the thing that the day that I really tapped into understanding that a lot of the way I think and a lot of the differences that I know for sure I have, was when I heard a podcast with an author and speaker named Katherine May. And she was speaking about her late diagnosis and how, she didn't realize all of her, let's say, quirks and interests and whatever could fall under the category of being autistic until she started tapping it. And I was listening to it just like anybody else would, just taking a walk, listening. And as she was talking, she said something about being able to hear electricity. And I was like, yeah. And she kept talking, and the interviewer was like, I don't understand. And so they had this little conversation about how she can hear the buzzing of electricity. And I kind of stopped in my tracks because I had never known that other people didn't hear electricity. I thought everyone did.
So how does that, what do you mean you hear electricity?
I hear the buzz of electricity.
So like any electricity? Like if you go by power lines, you can hear?
Yes. Oh, I can't understand that you can't. Or can you?
I mean, I guess if it's a loud power line. I'll hear a buzz, but
Okay. Well, so I don't know if you know this, but for years, and we have like 3 different ways to turn on the lights in our kitchen to all go to the same light. Like when you go out of each door, right?
Right.
So for one of them especially buzzes to me, and every time I walk in, I'm like, "Are we okay? Is like the kitchen? Are we gonna like have a problem? Is the electricity wired poorly?" And I used to ask you about it. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, "Can you hear that?" And you're like, "What are you talking about?" Because I felt like it was extremely loud out of that one switch.
is that like hearing music and seeing colors? That's
Yeah, sure. So yeah, exactly. So a lot of people who are, I mean, I think it's super cool and like a superpower, but they will see all sorts of things. But yes, can see color with music or numbers with music, you know, or they can attach things like that to what would be considered just like everyday, just,
so it's like extra sensory perception in a lot of ways because they're
it is very
perceiving. Yeah.
sensory. I don't know if that is the right terminology, just to be clear, but there. So
Well, I'm
yes,
just making this up as I go along.
I know
so.
you are, love. But there's a. This is why I'm always making sure that you're saying everything exactly right. Now it all makes sense.
We're going to say a disclaimer. We don't know what we're talking about. I definitely don't know what I'm talking
No,
about.
but my need for you to be accurate falls under my
Yeah.
spectrum.
So let me tell you one thing that has been very helpful in your diagnoses for us. And that is I have looked at our relationship completely differently. And, we already know from probably previous conversations that I have this thing where I hear everything that somebody says to me and I hear criticism. So when you would say things to me, I would treat it as criticism, but now I just know you're trying to be precise or you're trying
Exactly.
to do so.
Or I'm trying to get to the bottom of something because I'm super, super curious.
Right.
Right.
So that's one thing. Another thing, if you remember early in our relationship, you would ask me to make a lot of phone calls. You'd be like, "Hey, do you mind calling this person for me or that?" And I'm like, why am I going to be the middleman on this conversation? I don't want to sit here and talk to this person and then have to relay to you what they're saying, and then you're relaying to me what you're saying, like I'm the
Well,
telephone operator.
Can I pause you for a moment?
Yes.
I didn't know why either, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, wait, I like to be in charge of things. Like I need to be in charge of things. So why can't I, if I have to, I can. And if I have to, I will. But if I don't have to, why do I even want you to be? Like, what the heck?
Well, here's what I thought. I thought you were being too needy, or you were lazy, or something like that. Like and I had already had a relationship before where a person needed me more than I was comfortable with, and so when you were asking me to do these phone calls, I was immediately like, "What is going on? Why am I making these phone calls?" Now I understand that you are, in a lot of ways, apprehensive about having a conversation with someone on the phone because it's unpredictable.
Well, I'm not too,
You might be put on the spot with
no.
a topic. Well, what is it? There's something that you are very much, it depends on who it is you're talking to, of course, and what it's about. But the bottom line is that I now
It's a lot of
understand.
work, I guess, is what it is. It becomes, if I have to make a lot of phone calls, it's not that I can't, which is, again, my personal, not everybody feels that way. Some people literally can't. I can, but it is very draining. And I don't know if you've heard the kind of metaphor that you only have so many spoons to use during the day.
Yeah, I love this metaphor. So what does that mean? So many spoons.
Just that you you wake up every day, you only have 50 spoons. I mean, or whatever, 12, and pick a number, it doesn't matter.
So a phone call could be like half of that.
It can be, depending, right? Like we've all been on the phone before and the phone call was draining. Fine. But what I didn't realize is that if I've used up half my spoons and I still have my whole day ahead of me. I didn't realize this, but over the course of the day, if I exhaust the rest of the spoons too early, then I'm now without any fuel, no spoons left. I've got nothing. That's the metaphor. It's just that, it's like your energy level, your battery. So, now the kids are talking about social battery all the time, which I love and use. I didn't have that, and I didn't understand it at all. And I just knew I needed help if I could. And you seem to love to talk on the phone and you don't care. And so if it were, I don't even know what it would be, what I would be asking you to call, but whatever it was, if you could do it instead of me, beautiful. I don't have to do it.
And so now that I know this, I'm fine with it. I'm not at all bothered by it. And I'm like happy to help. I can be that person in your life that can help you with that. And that really makes me happy.
I'm going to tell you what would make me happy.
What?
If you would learn to wash the dishes the way I need you to wash
God,
them.
with the dishes again.
This is a thing still, but I won't bore you. Just trust that it really hurts me. But listen, this is I don't know if we really meant to talk this way about this, but the sensitivity, I'm a highly sensitive person. Okay. So my senses, think about your senses, right? So what are they?
Sound, your hearing, taste, vision, touch, and is that it?
Maybe. So think about all of those things for a minute. So those sensitivities are heightened differently for each person. It doesn't matter, every person in the whole world, right? We just said the other day,
smell.
If you met,
Smell would be a sense too.
you were thinking hard.
I was this whole time. I'm thinking.
He's
There's
not,
5.
He's not
And
listening
guess what?
at all.
All of those things, you're very sensitive about everything.
Exactly. And it just depends on the circumstance
I call
and the
you
situation.
my little wolf because you can smell things. I'm like, what are you talking about? I smell this. I'm like, I don't smell that at all. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. My girlfriend had me come over to see, because she knew that I would be able to detect like
You're like one of those
a
dogs.
radar.
You're like a
Like,
dog.
can you come over? Can you smell this cloth? Does it smell like mold? Is there a problem? Do I have moisture damage? And
Can you smell marijuana in suitcases?
oh God, I can smell marijuana all over the place. I just took a walk and I
It smells
smelled
like New York in here.
marijuana, which is fine. But like I was in an office building the other day and someone opened a door and I'm like, I know those people are not in there smoking. Like, where is this
get
coming
this.
from?
I smell it in court, if you can believe that.
Yeah, no,
I
you've
go
told
into the
us.
courtroom and it is like
You've told us.
like somebody just blew in my face. It's unbelievable.
It's bizarre. So yes, no.
So yeah, you have that
shit
one.
Sticks to you.
You also
so.
have sound. If something's too loud, you don't like that either.
Well, no, it's very specific. That's
What is it?
the thing.
What is it?
Well, what are you talking about?
I thought you had some sound issues.
I got a lot of sound issues. I do have a lot of sound issues, but it's like if I'm playing my own music or like if it's coming because my choice, my choice, then it can be loud. Like I'm okay. Like I can go to a dance party and
I mean, I've taken you to
stand there with-
concerts before, and you're like, I'm not going to any concerts. I'm like, you didn't like going to concerts.
that's because there's a lot of other things that are adding into it besides
Like what?
everything. There's
The people.
so many other problems. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. You digressed.
I digressed. Yeah. So smell, sight. You do have good sight too. You're always looking for birds.
Well, so that's the thing. So attention to detail for me is, I think if you know me, you know that that's probably accurate. But so here's the thing. What I learned that I thought was so fascinating is up until that day, that podcast day with Katherine May, up until that day, I thought the spectrum meant, like a straight line. And so you were either on this end or this end, right? So you could either be autistic, like
Nonverbal,
Rain Man,
can't speak.
or
Right.
you were what they used to call Asperger's, which is
Asperger's,
no
right.
longer used for lots of reasons. Look it up. Now everything is considered one blanket autistic. And I kind of wonder if that's going to continue that way, because obviously the spectrum is vast, and you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. No two are alike. As you know, I like to say no two people are alike anywhere ever. But the spectrum picture it more of a round diagram, okay? And
So not a straight line.
not a straight line. And all of the characteristics in a person, for all of us, are part of the pie. And so if you have a person has struggles with various parts of the pie, we all do. That's why you hear people say all the time, oh, I mean, isn't everybody autistic? There's a lot of talking that way, because a lot of the characteristics do, of course, apply to all of us in different ways. But when the load gets too heavy, when there are so many things getting, clicked off, basically, and then you realize that this is why therefore certain things in life are very, very difficult. And then there's a gap usually. So there's a lot of things that are really tough, whether that's social cues, whether that's, being in public, certain things are very tough, and certain things are extremely heightened, talent, creativity, and there's a certain ease with
Or
certain
maybe numbers.
knowledge,
Maybe they're really good with numbers. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's usually a gap, right? And that's a sign to peak.
So if, let's say, there are 20 factors that a person has, you're saying that if you hit 16, that would give you the diagnoses of
Well,
autism.
You
And
do
if you
like
only-
to
and if
make
you only
everything
had-
sound so easy,
If
don't
you
you?
had 3 or 4, then I might have 3 or 4. I'm not considered that, but I'm still struggling in certain areas.
Okay.
I mean, again, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm
it's
just-
not. It's
it's
obviously
something like that, though. I mean, you're
Look. I mean, it's just the truth is, it's just not that simple. Like it's just not that simple, and yet, I mean, what happened is I'll just say for myself, like after listening to Katherine May, this is what happens to me. My interest is piqued. I realize that there's something my heart starts racing. I'm onto something. It's like I'm Nancy Drew. I'm literally like, move over, everybody be quiet. I'm now going to gear up. I'm going down the rabbit hole. And I did. I looked her up. Who even is she? I downloaded one of her books. I went to town. And in the process, I discovered a website that had a lot of assessments on it called embracingautism.com. Because I was like super curious. And I'm like, well, why don't I just take a couple of these quizzes and tests? Well, a few hours later, I had to laugh in between, because as I kept taking test after test after test, and it was putting me on the spectrum each time.
so they were asking you questions like, in this situation, would you do this?
Rate this, most likely, least likely, whatever. Some things were just like, what? This is a question? Like, it was eye-opening. So I went, test after test. They're testing all sorts of things, assessing rather all sorts of things. And in between a couple of the quizzes, there was a note that said, just so you know, by the way, if you're taking quiz after quiz, assessment after assessment, that alone might be a sign that you are autistic, something like that, or on the spectrum. And I just started laughing, and I was like, does somebody not do what I'm doing? So of course I've come a long way. I understand that the reason I felt truly different was because I was truly different. And the way I process things and the way I think things is different. And I'd like to venture to say, can be beautiful and eye-opening to someone else if I've been able to find ways of communicating that, right? Through my writing or now through this, and because I have the platform. But when I'm in a conversation with people, my friends will be the first to tell you, I'm probably the most likely person to be sitting with my back against something because I prefer to look out. And
Like at dinner at
yes,
a
yes,
restaurant.
yes. And they let me, and you let me, and thank you. And
I always get to look at the wall.
sorry. Well, it's perfect. We're perfect because you are ADHD, so you need to look at the wall because you cannot be looking at anything else. I mean, the
Definitely
other day,
not any light
you're looking
on
at
the
the wall with the light from hitting your watch. You're watching the light bounce around on the wall. You're just distracted by everything. So yes, you need to look
At nothing.
at nothing, at me, hi, and I get to look at all the things and take everything in.
Yeah, you get to report to me what's going on in the restaurant. Yeah, I get a little play-by-play.
Very funny. But my friends will tell you, I think that, and you can tell us that my first choice way of being is to observe and
That's why you write so beautifully.
take
because
everything in.
You're able to articulate in words the most beautiful things that you've seen. It's really stunning.
Thank you. And so if you want me to talk about something that I'm interested in, I also have trouble stopping that. So, we've been obviously keeping these podcasts at a certain length without really monitoring it. But if you're talking about something that I'm really interested in, I know a lot about, like your Deal or No Deal friend, I'm liable to talk about it if I have an opportunity. The difference probably between what you described and me is I have a heightened awareness. I'm an empath. I have a heightened awareness of what everyone else is feeling and thinking. So I'm almost the clear opposite, where I'd rather just observe because it's just that the buzzing of the electricity is how I feel like everyone's energy is, because electricity is energy. And so I feel and hear, it's almost like all my senses, like an antenna, are touching essentially the energy of the person I'm talking to or people I'm talking to. So if somebody is like, oh my God, shut up, or I almost can hear and feel and read the room to so much so that it could be paralyzing.
So that's why you could be really, really quiet and not say
Correct.
anything, but you have a lot to say.
So much. But it's hard for me to always know when to do that. And if I'm trying to navigate a conversation, and it's natural that people interrupt and goes back and forth, and I have a hard time with that. So again, it can be very draining. So I might need like 2 days off afterwards. You remember how I used to be like, I'm just laying here today. I can't.
Right.
And I didn't understand why. And now I'm like, oh, I get it. I'll schedule lots of stuff on this day, and I'll take a day the next day and not be
Well, there's a
available.
great example of how knowing yourself can make a huge difference in your life. You also have the ability to kind of take on the person, not the personality, but the way of communicating with the person you're talking to.
I have to really be careful.
So if somebody's
like an
really loud,
imitation.
using their hands, you'll do the same thing, or you'll be more
I'll match.
reserved.
And
Yeah.
I used to tell you about that, that when I, owned my businesses, that it came in handy. This is again long before I ever understood what this even meant on the spectrum scale. But I always said I could match the other person. Again, it's the same kind of thing, match the energy, right? Kind of match the way that they, and I thought it was really cool. I told you I was like a chameleon. So if a person came in and was kind of quiet and shy, I would match their energy and just stay calm and, just kind of deliver the information in a way that I thought was a lot, closer to their vibe.
Did
and
you
their
do that because
energy.
you wanted them to be
Nope.
comfortable?
I didn't. Well, sure, I guess. Well, that goes back to that empathy. It really is a big a stereotype to think that someone who's autistic does not have empathy. I've learned and seen that that is not true for a lot of people.
I think that we should pause the conversation and end this now so that we can continue the conversation for next week, because we are getting to the end of our time. But I think one of the takeaways from this conversation, which we really were talking about initially, was the whole thing that normal does not exist.
Yeah.
And then that kind of segued into your
Yeah.
diagnoses.
No, you're right. And normal does not exist. I mean, I believe that clearly. Never haven't. I don't know that the person writing that in was wondering about neurodivergent when they said that. In fact, I feel like maybe they weren't. And I feel like what they were probably thinking is maybe more like, kind of behind the scenes, like in your home, everybody thinks that the next person has this normal life and their life isn't. And then if you're lucky enough to be real and authentic with the neighbor or your friend, you find out you're really all living differently, but every bit of it is a challenge. And therefore there isn't one way. Because I think that's what normal represents in my head, that concept, that label, of normal is, as I always say, fake news. It's not. It's just suggesting that there was one path, there was one way, and that everything off of that path is not normal,
Right.
or not as good.
Normal
as
is
the
the
translation.
correct way, and everything else is not correct.
Exactly. Yeah. So
we'll continue
not
this.
fair.
We'll continue this conversation
okay.
next week.
See, once we start talking, I can't stop.
See, I'm stopping you right now.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week then.
You want me to say how we're not going to be seeing them?
Yeah, you can do that.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing that.
You're not going to give me that.